Chapter 4 of Runner by Deuker. I should have known she would. Her binder is plastered with stickers that read "War is terrorism" and "War sucks." When she was a junior, she wrote an article for the newspaper about the rights of gay students. Most kids don't like her much, but I've always thought she was okay. I've known her for a long time. She runs cross country, which is a sport I used to do before the divorce, back when I did sports. For a while I was the only person at Whittier School who could beat her. Our races always played out the same way. Even then she was tall and slender, and she'd eat up ground with her long stride, but I'd catch her and pass her at the very end. She had green eyes, and as I raced by her to the finish line, those eyes would spit fire at me, and I liked that about her too. Arnold nodded to her. "What's your question, Melissa?" "I was just wondering," she said, "if Private Miller has ever read about the places he might end up. You know what I mean, stuff on the history of the Middle East or on Islam." It was a trap. Everybody in the classroom knew it except Miller. Melissa had the jaws ready to snap shut, and Miller walked right in. "Sure," he said. "I've read stuff about the Middle East." Melissa made a big point of taking out her pen and opening up her notebook. "That's great. Could you give me titles of books you'd recommend?" Miller's face reddened. "Titles? I'm not sure I can remember any titles." Melissa leaned forward. "How about authors, then? Just one or two to get me started. You must remember some names." Heather Carp turned in her seat and glared at Melissa. "You are such a brat." "Heather," Arnold said angrily. "Well, it's true, Mr. Arnold. You know what she's doing." Melissa's voice hardened. "If he hasn't read anything, why doesn't he just say so?" She looked at Miller. "You haven't read anything on the Middle East, have you? You're just saying exactly what the army tells you to say." "Stop it, Melissa," Arnold said. "Why do I have to stop it? We're all pretending he's some sort of expert just because he has a uniform on, but he doesn't know anything." "I said stop it," Arnold repeated sharply. "Right now." The whole class had turned on Melissa. They were all glaring at her. I couldn't leave her hanging out there all alone. Not with Miller. "What are you getting mad at her for?" I said, and now the class wheeled around to look at me. She asked a simple question. Either he's read some book or he hasn't. I forced myself to look right at Miller. "So what's your answer? Yes or no?" Miller stared back at me for a while, and then he looked down. "I haven't had time to read anything yet, but I will." There was an awkward silence, and then Arnold started talking, going through all the regular thank you and good luck stuff. The class clapped. Miller mumbled something. The class clapped again. Finally, Miller left. With Miller gone, Arnold passed out an article on the Israelis and the Palestinians. The pages were all wrinkled and dirty. My copy had to have been at least 10 years old. "Read this for tomorrow. Read it slowly and think about it as you go. And don't lose it. I want it back." I put my head down and started reading the words, but it was too complicated for me to follow. When the bell rang, I took my time packing my stuff into my backpack. By the time I started for the door, all the other kids were gone. As I passed by Arnold's desk, he raised his head from the papers in front of him. He looked like he was about to say something, but then his eyes returned to his desk. I was out.